Del Mar. This is the second year that we're having this event, and we're very happy that you're here and very excited to introduce our program to you, as well as have our current IB students give you kind of a first-hand look at what it's like to be an IB student here. We hope you get a lot of information, and we'd love for you to ask questions, especially of the students. They're a wealth of information, and they're very excited to be here as well and showcase their program in their school. Welcome, and I'm going to pass off the mic to Ms. Jessica Olamet. She's the IB coordinator here at Del Mar, and she's going to get us started and introduce our students. Welcome.
All right, good evening, everybody. Okay, so the purpose of this evening is really to give you a first-hand insight into what IB is like. So we have a mixture of juniors and seniors, and some students who are course candidates and some students who are diploma candidates, and I'll explain what that means in a few minutes. But basically, I think that students get sick of hearing from adults about what things are like, and they really want to hear from actual students, right? Like, how many times a month do you cry because of stress, right? Like, does that really happen? How much homework do you have each night, right? So they're here to tell you, you know, from their actual experiences of what it's like. I told them to be honest, and they don't have to, you know, sugarcoat anything. So they have been coached to tell you the truth about IB, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's get started. Actually, the first thing I want to point out is it is a goal for Del Mar that every student is an IB student. We really want IB to be for everyone. That might mean that you as a student feel comfortable just taking one IB class, and that is great. And some students are going to do the full IB diploma, and that is great too. But my goal is that every single student feels like they belong in the IB program. Ooh, it just got a little romantic. Oh, even more so. Wow. I feel like we need a candlelit table and a violin in the corner. All right, so for today, oh, and actually before I forget, you received a packet of papers. Oh, I think we're figuring out the lights here. The first page is our agenda for the evening. The second page is a survey. Last year was the first year that we started doing our whole parent education series. The IB Parent Organization, we are a small but mighty group, and the parents have been putting on some really powerful and meaningful nights, and this is one of them that we started last year. Last year we were in the faculty lounge, and it was standing room only, so we had to move into this space, which is great. And then the final piece of paper just gives you some a heads up on some upcoming events. So on January 26th, the IB Parent Organization is doing a Goodwill Fill the Truck fundraiser where you can bring any items that you no longer need and fill the truck, and those proceeds will go to our IB program. On January 31st, we are having a presentation about stress and stress management, and the kind of tagline for that is, stressed is just dessert spelled backwards. And we do have a couple of shadow days left this year. We have one coming up next week on December 13th, and then another one on March 21st. And if you're interested in having your student spend a day at Del Mar, you can get in touch with me, and we can make that happen. Okay, now we'll get to the actual program. So I already talked about the fact that IB is for all students. I do want to clarify that IB starts in students' junior and senior year. So as 9th and 10th graders, all of our classes are aligned to prepare students for IB. So the types of assessments and the types of assignments they're doing in 9th and 10th grade mirror what they'll be doing in 11th and 12th, but they don't actually start IB classes until they're juniors and seniors. Another major part of the IB the IB program that really distinguishes it from AP, for example, is that IB is a comprehensive program, which means that there's a mission statement and the courses connect to each other, and there's an overall philosophy that encompasses all of the courses, and one of those is the IB Learner Profile. These are 10 attributes that we want all students to be developing over the 4 years that they're at Del Mar. What I love about this program is that it cares about students holistically. It's not just about students becoming better mathematicians and better historians and better scientists, but it's about them learning to be caring humans and give back to their community, to be balanced and make sure that if you are feeling stressed, how are you going to take care of yourself? Are you reflective? What else do we have up here? Oh, are you a thinker? Are you open-minded? These are all of the character traits that I think are emphasized a lot in elementary school, but oftentimes gets forgotten about in high school, which is sort of strange because you know high schoolers, they still need to do these things, right? So I really like this aspect of the program, that we talk to students not just about the academics in their classroom, but also about who they are as people. Okay, so this slide just very generally goes over the distinction between a course candidate and a diploma student. I'm not going to go in a huge amount of depth on this, but basically a course candidate is somebody who is taking some IB classes. It could be anywhere from 1 to 6, but it's all based on their choice, their interest, and balancing out all the other things they have going on in their lives. So for example, some students academically could handle doing the full IB diploma, but they have so many extracurricular activities and other things that they really enjoy doing that they don't want to give up, that they made a choice to not do the full diploma and be a course candidate instead. An IB diploma candidate takes 6 IB classes plus 3 core requirements, which is the theory of knowledge class. They write an extended essay, which is a 4,000-word research paper on a topic of their choice. And then they participate in the CAS program, which stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. Our CAS coordinator is right back there, Ms. Hallinan. If you have further questions about CAS this evening, the students can answer them, but also Ms. Hallinan can too. The CAS program is one of the ways that balance is incorporated into the diploma program, because students have to show that they're fulfilling learning goals and doing something creative, something physically active, and something community service oriented. So some of our students who are here this evening are full diploma candidates, and some of our students are course candidates. So you'll hear from a mixture. Okay. Before we have our current students speak, we had our first group of students graduate last year with the IB program. So I emailed a few of them and asked them to send me a little short video of how they've taken what they learned in IB and applied it in college. So each one's about a minute long. We're going to hear from these students, just so you can hear about what current college students and how they're applying IB. So this first student, Catherine Butler, all 3 of these students, by the way, earned their full diploma. So they were all IB diploma candidates. Catherine Butler is a freshman at BYU. Let's hear what she has to say.
Catherine Butler. So how has my IB coursework transferred to college? So I think the classes that have helped me most were Theory of Knowledge, Ling and Lit, and IB Bio. IB Bio is just, that class is such a wide variety of study skills I got from it, and note-taking, just the vast content, all the stuff you do in that class. I found some of my favorite ways to study, and I found what study methods worked for me, because you kind of got to study a lot. So yes, IB Bio definitely. IB Ling and Lit, I just learned how to write really good essays, and OBVL was kind of Ling and Lit, but also kind of HODA, but writing good essays.
Sorry, that's a lot of acronyms she just said. HODA stands for History of the Americas, which is another IB class that we have. And OPVL, oh my gosh, you guys are gonna have to help me. Point of view? Oh.
Purpose, values, limits.
What's that one? Origin? Purpose, values, limits. It's a way that you analyze historical events through that lens, OPVL. There's so many acronyms. It's like alphabet soup. It's so fun. Okay, here we go.
EBL will just, it will save your life in college. It has saved mine so far. Finally, theory of knowledge. This one is probably just most applicable to me because I'm in the honors course here at BYU, and it's very interdisciplinary, and we talk about like great questions, and it's kind of meta, just like TOK. So yeah, definitely good essays, good study skills, and applicability. Good luck in IB, guys. I wish you all the best. Everyone, I'm Catherine Butler.
How adorable is she? I love the cinder block wall with the lights. Like, is that not quintessential college or what? Okay. All right, this is Mia Nikolakidis. She is a freshman at Arizona State. Her hair's also looking a little cray-cray, but, you know, she probably had a really stressful day. It's fine.
Hey Omar peeps, it's me, Nicola Kudis, here at Arizona State University at the Barrett Honors College, majoring in biomedical sciences. Just here to tell you a little bit about my experience transitioning into college from the IB program and whether or not that it prepared me for college work. And the short answer is yes, it did, for sure, especially IB biology. The bio class that I'm taking right now has been a lot easier because I took IB biology and I definitely have an upper hand in that situation compared to some other students, so definitely recommend taking that class, especially if you're going to become a science major. Second, Socratic seminars are huge here in college, especially if you're going to be taking sort of like philosophy style classes.
So Socratic seminars is a discussion-based model that we use here. Usually there's a text that students are talking about, but it's all student-led and very student-driven conversation.
I was taking this semester was called The Human Event, which basically discussed literary works from ancient times all the way, and it's going to, next semester, talk about more modern texts. So definitely helps to know Socratic seminars like the back of your hand. So IB definitely prepared me for college. Hope that helps you make your decision. Thanks. Bye. Hey, Omar.
All right, and our last student is Eric Esparza, and he is currently a freshman right now at De Anza Community College.
Esparza, and I'm an official IB Diploma student, and in this short video, I'm here to talk about my experience transitioning from the IB program to college. Overall, the transition has been relatively smoothly because the IB program has allowed me to become a well-balanced, a well-rounded student, and what took part in that was the IB attributes that really played an important role in my success both during the program and even college. For example, one of the attributes is to be reflective, and to be reflective, I look back at the mistakes I made, I look back at what wasn't working during the beginning of college, such as not doing proper note-taking, and then from looking at the mistakes, I found a solution, and then during the second week of college, I went back to Del Mar, and I got a clarifying bookmark from Miss Royalty, and it has allowed me to become much more effective and much more efficient note-taker. And so far I've been getting all A's in my exams. So overall, I would see that the IB program allows you to become much more confident in yourself, and it really helps you work on both your strengths and weaknesses so that you can overcome your weaknesses and really become a successful student, both during the program and even outside of the program.
I did not pay them, I swear. All right, it makes me so proud to hear from them. I just emailed them and said, can you send me a short video? And that's what they did. Aren't they great? Can we give them a round of applause in absentia? Yay! Okay. All right, now, I'm gonna introduce our students like one at a time. They get to do their walk out here. They can practice their like Princess Diaries wave if they want. So here we go. Our first student is Estefania Corral. I love her. I've had her, this is my second year having her as a student. She is a junior. Here she is. She's a course candidate. She likes long walks on the beach. No, I'm just kidding. She also is an AVID student. She's in my AVID Theory of Knowledge class, and we can explain what that is in a bit. Next we have Jorge Garcia Sanchez. He is a senior. He's also a course candidate. Come on out, Jorge. Then we have Eliza Hallinan. She is a senior and a diploma candidate. We have Melissa Lopez, also a student of mine. Had her for 2 years. She's a junior diploma candidate. Daisy Martinez, another student of mine, junior course candidate. Jordan Nguyen, have not had the pleasure of having her as a student, but she's lovely. Senior diploma candidate. We have Quinny Nguyen. She's a junior diploma candidate. Rock star. Is Yuli back there? All right, Yuli's Reina Pacheco is here. He's a junior diploma candidate coming straight from his honor band audition. And we have Curtis Taylor. Oh, I missed Sage, I'm sorry. Curtis Taylor, you're a senior course candidate. He also is not feeling that well, but he still came. And Sage Quantito, sorry Sage, I missed your name up there. She's a senior course candidate. All right, so I have a couple of questions that I prepared in advance that they're going to answer, and then we're going to open it up to questions and answers in the audience, okay? So, first question, and students, you guys are going to pass the mics back and forth, okay, is your why. So why did you decide to participate in IB as either a course candidate or a diploma candidate? So how did you decide, like, how many IB classes to take the plunge, to do the full diploma, or why that wasn't the best choice for you? I'm going to just open it up to you guys.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm a IB Diploma candidate, so I'm doing the whole course, the diploma, and the reason I joined is not a very specific reason, because I didn't join for a challenge, and I didn't join because I had straight A's all of my school career, because I never did, but instead I joined because I knew that this was an opportunity that was going to give me a lot to learn about and a lot of challenges, and I did want that. And now I have learned that, yes, that is what I got, and and it's been great. It really has, and it really did fulfill all that Ms. Alame told us about.
You don't have to applaud after each person, because that will just be it. We'll applaud them for Barry.
I'm Curtis. I'm a course. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a course candidate, and so I'm not doing the full diploma. And the reason why I chose to take the IB classes that I did was because I enjoy the challenge of them, because it makes it more engaging for me and more interesting. And I decided not to do the full diploma because I did sports. I've done sports my entire time in high school, and so I wanted to make sure that I would have time to put those first.
Hi, I'm Eliza. The IB Diploma, picking it was a really big decision for me because I had to actually transfer to Del Mar from my middle school. My home high school isn't Del Mar, so I had to do the whole transfer process. And so picking the IB Diploma was a really big decision for me. I was going to a school where I would know a total of 2 other people from my middle school, and I already had some of that, like, awkward middle school social anxiety already, so it was a little nerve-wracking kind of picking to choose to go to Del Mar. But ultimately, picking to do the IB program that we have here has made my experience so much better than I thought it would be. Through the IB program, I've learned a lot about myself, as other people have said. Being a diploma candidate, I've been able to really explore aspects of my education that I don't think I would have gotten to be able to explore at another school. And that's just been a really, really important part of making me who I am today and having me grow in such a way that's very unique to IB.
All right, do we have anybody else for that first question?
My name is Daisy, and I'm an IB candidate. And the reason why I took some IB classes is because I wanted to challenge myself, because I knew I could do more than what I was doing at school. And the reason why I did not decide to do the IB Diploma was because I had a lot to do at home.
All right, great. The second question is, oh, I'm sorry, Ulysses, go ahead, sorry.
Hi, my name is Ulysses. I'm a diploma candidate. There isn't really like a huge reason why I did the diploma. My brother is someone who I look up to a lot, and I asked him one day, like, because he graduated from Del Mar and he took all AP courses when he had AP courses here. And I asked him, like, if you were in my position, would you do the IB Diploma? And he's like, yeah. And because he said that, I'm like, all right, then I'll do it. I'll give it a try. And so far, trust me, I'm not a 4.0 student. I'm still struggling, but in the end, I know that I'm going to learn so much from this experience.
All right, great, thank you. Sorry, I didn't remember. I have to. Oh, and you're going too. Jeez.
We just feel like everybody on the.
I know. Okay, go.
Hello, my name is Jordan, and I decided to do the IB Diploma in my 8th grade year. We were trying to decide which high school I was going to go to, just like Eliza was, and my mom had done some research about the IB Diploma program that was going to be implemented at Del Mar, and when she was telling me about it, I remember thinking, like, this sounds like an entirely next level high school education. And all throughout my middle school and elementary school years, I remember always pushing to be in more advanced classes, to do more work, because I was kind of bored. And I wanted to be challenged. And I knew that doing a program like this would be really difficult, but it would challenge me in ways that would make me thrive.
I swear your children will sound like this someday. I know right now they're probably like, how's your day? Fine. Someday they will get here. Mine are still like that too. It's cool, it's fine. Okay, can I go to question number 2? Did I miss anybody? Okay, all right. The second question is, what is your favorite aspect of the IB program?
Hi, I'm Quinny, and I'm a junior IB Diploma candidate. And my favorite thing that I've done in IB so far is my CAS activities or experiences. So, as Ms. Alama mentioned before, CAS stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. And there's also a project aspect associated with it, and the CAS project is a month long, and it usually involves either 2 of those strands. And my CAS project was doing voter registration drives on campus to help kids pre-register to vote, and that was such an amazing experience because I got to be directly involved with helping kids become civically engaged, which means a lot to me, especially in this political climate. But it was just amazing to essentially reflect on that, and that's what CAS allows you to do. It allows you to reflect on your experiences and what you do and figure out why that matters and what impact you have on the school and on the rest of the world.
Believe it or not, the thing that gets me most excited about the IB program is doing all of the papers and writing all of the papers. IB is really unique in that all of your internal assessments for each class, you can write about basically whatever you want as long as it applies to the topic. So I really love Dungeons and Dragons because I'm a big nerd. And so I got to write an entire math paper about the statistics of Dungeons and Dragons. Or I got to be able to write a history paper about LGBT history, which I'm really interested in. So you really get to apply your interests to your learning, which makes the learning process really, really fun.
I'm also going to go off of Eliza there too. So my name is Sage, I'm a senior, I'm a course candidate. So one of my favorite also aspects of IB, with our internal assessments, we can choose almost anything that we can do. So that really helped me when I'm applying to colleges because a lot of my colleges I'm applying to, I chose to do alternative applications. So I do not submit my SAT or ACT scores, I submit my internal assessments, which show my qualitative and quantitative writing that I have done. So similar to Eliza, for my history or HODA paper, I did Native American activism movements during the 70s and 80s. And then I was able to show how I was able to understand, read the documents, and similar to Catherine Butler, you learn this whole OPCVL process, which is showing you how to learn and kind of the depth of the value of the documents. I also took AP European history, and that was very much cramming information. You need to know dates, you need to know times, and a lot of things like that. Whereas HODA, you learn skills. You learn how to read documents, how to apply the documents to your essays, and also how to write an historical essay which is something that I'm definitely going to need in college, not just like an English essay, use evidence, but like how to apply the skills that you use to multiple disciplines. So I can use it in history, I can use it in English, I can use it in math, and I can use it like across many different subjects that way.
Hello, my name is Jorge Garcia, and my favorite aspect of the IB courses is that it's challenging and the class time is not wasted at all. Every single second of class, it's always work, but it's good in the sense that it keeps pushing you forward, and it shows you that you just have to keep working hard in order to succeed. Yeah, it's not easy, but it's not too hard too. In class, there will be things that you don't understand, and you have to go home and you have to learn them on your own, and I feel like that is preparing me for college as a sense, because when I go out to college, I know that there are going to be some things that I don't pick up from the classes, and IB right here is teaching me that you have to take on the responsibility of your own as well, on your part. They're doing their part by teaching you these things in class, and it's on you actually to make sure that you do your part and you take home what you learned in class. And that's really my favorite aspect, because it's preparing me for college and it's making me take on a responsibility of it's on me. It's my choice. I decided to be here, so I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep working hard, no matter how hard it gets.
Okay. The third question is your what. So what is the most important thing you've learned since being a part of the IB program?
The most important thing that I've learned so far is probably, I'm actually still learning it, but time management. Even right now, I have a lot of homework to do, but I didn't manage my time. I'm sorry, Ms. Allen, but I still need to do my cast. I need to put in everything, but yeah. The most important thing is just manage time. If you're going to do the IB Diploma or any IB classes, please, trust me, manage your time.
Well, you stole mine, but yeah, I think the most important thing I've learned in the IB is like take the time to reflect on yourself as a person, not only as a student. I understand I was an AP hero last year too, and whereas AP hero is more like remember this, remember that, this date and this king. It's in IB it's more like how can you justify your argument? What is your position, and how do you think you can justify it to other people? Yeah. So it basically taught me argument skills.
So the most important thing I've learned about IB is that you have to learn how to be a balanced person and balance your personal life with your work at school. Because you can't really say, oh, I had to go to a party with my parents and I couldn't do my homework. It's like, it's everything you do, every consequence, it's your fault. So have to like take responsibility, be balanced, know like what's more important, the party or your homework.
Okay, I'm Estefania. I'm a first-generation student. The best thing I learned about the IB courses is studying. So like my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't study at all, and I thought that I still succeeded, which, yeah. But like now I entered IB, and then like now I'm like having like 2 hours of studying, and like I don't know what to do sometimes. But like then when I get my score on my test, I'm so happy. So like I really recommend you guys to like start studying if you're not doing it now. Like study because it's helping you a lot.
So the most important thing I took away from all of this so far is to do your homework assignments on time and to try to do them early. They don't give you too much, and they actually give you class time to finish it as well. And it builds up if you don't decide to do it on time. But then my another favorite part is they're here to help you. You're not alone with all of this. You have friends that are also taking the IB. The classes as you, and you can reach out and ask for help, and they'll help you. They'll be glad to. There's study groups all the time. There's Coco and Cram where IB students can come and get help as well. but it's also to just be balanced. I mean, that's my favorite part. I mean, the most important thing is to be balanced, because you have to learn, as to say, put school in front, because IB it's challenging, but you need it's challenging, but it's manageable if you put the time to do that work. And please don't put your homework to the last minute, or else you will stay up till 11 p.m. doing your homework.
I have learned from the IB Diploma that you don't need to be a 4.0 student, and you don't need to get A's in every single class, because trust me, I did not. For example, I have to retake English because sophomore year I slacked off too hard. And so, but now with the IB, I have learned that I do have it in me, and I know that your kids and the students to come will have it in them to manage their time and to do their homework on time, because it's forced out of them and they have it in there. And I've learned that I've had it in there.
So the most important thing for me that I've learned would also be probably time management as well. Just because with with everything that you have going on throughout the week, it can get so busy that when you do have time, you really just have to like put your phone away, get rid of all distractions, and just get your homework done. Because if you get sidetracked while doing it, it can like triple the time it takes. So I'd say probably that, and just focusing, and that's what I've really enjoyed from these IB classes, that I've been able to better manage my time and just focus.
I can start on the next question.
Great. Perfect advice. What would you say to students or families considering the IB program?
This is also definitely like repeated time management, great advice. But also, it's not only like these are more advanced classes and things like that. It's also like advice is you can try your hardest and it'll really help you put your best foot forward. It pushes you not only to, because some of us are taking theory of knowledge, and the advice that like we get from that is not only class is about how you know what you know and how you learn certain things. And what I've learned from that class is basically to be able to question things and know you're not always right the first time, but it allows you to learn more and be able to really be more accepting of certain things. Because even if you have, like, if you don't know a lot, you need to keep like an open mind around certain things and then be able to gain more knowledge. So my advice around that is definitely for IB, even if you don't like it, you can take a few classes and try it out. But it's really, it pushes you to like think in a different way, and it's really something different that I see not a lot of other classes are taken at different schools. And you're like, oh, well, I have a special class, I have AP, but IB is something really special in the way that it's made, and the curriculum, because it also helps you like create a more well-rounded like person in the future. I feel like, so I feel like advice is always just keep an open mind to the future that way, because I feel it'll really help you.
To go with that well-roundedness that Sage was touching on, especially for families who are maybe considering, or parents who are trying to encourage their student to pursue the IB Diploma or program, I think the thing that has helped keep me sane through this entire process was especially the support of my parents. Not in just the sense of them pushing me to achieve more things, but in the sense that they told me that it's okay if I don't do everything perfectly. And I don't have to do everything at once. That support in letting me mess up and letting me not necessarily be the best at everything, that support has really helped me grow as a person and helped my mental health, and has kept that pressure off of me from, you must do the best all the time, get straight A's, do 3 sports and the school musical and everything at once. That gets really overwhelming for students, and like we know that the IB Diploma is hard. We're the ones who are going through it. And just that parental support has been really what has saved my life in the process of this.
I would advise you guys to not worry about the price because from my experience, once my mom saw that it was $1,000, the first thing she told me was to get out. And like I remember having our 30-minute conversation in the car, telling me like, "Oh, you're not gonna take it because the price, we can't afford it. We have bills to pay, and we have all this to pay." So then my grandma, she like gave a rant to my mom and like told her that education came first and that the price didn't get manageable. So I wouldn't recommend you guys to stress on the price, just like what is going to benefit your kids.
Just to add on to that, so there is a cost to IB exams, but we have a budget to make sure that anyone who needs financial assistance gets it. So students who qualify for free and reduced lunch don't pay for anything, and then families who don't qualify for free and reduced lunch but still need financial assistance just need to let us know, and we have a budget to pay for whatever families need. So we have some students who are paying $20 and then we're covering the rest. We have some families who are paying in monthly installments. It's whatever works, but we will never turn a student away who wants to take IB exams. So money should never be a concern for this program.
So I have two really big pieces of advice. One of them Eliza kind of already touched on. I'll say that one first. The first thing is, as a diploma candidate, and I'm extraordinarily busy at all times, the biggest thing for me that has gotten me through this program and has maintained a semblance of like sanity and health has been my parents' support and my friends' support in allowing me to have fun. Fun is a foreign word to diploma candidates sometimes, but taking advantage of CAS, which is creativity, activity, and service, and using those experiences to actually enrich your social life in a sense. Last year we did these hikes that were CAS, and we like hiked up a mountain with all of our friends. And while we were all had our individual goals and we were reflecting on them with time, we also were just with our friends having fun, taking a break from all of the homework. And that's the one biggest piece of advice that I have when it comes to the IB diploma, but IB in general and kind of just high school. You have to take a break, you have to allow time for yourself. And to parents, I would say that like maybe your student has had a stressful week, and if they say, hey, can I go to the movies? They probably really kind of need that. So if you can support them in that, that would be awesome. My second piece of advice is there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's a little bit of status that surrounds IB. Like, oh, I'm in IB English, I'm in IB whatever. Just like saying I'm in AP, it signifies that you're in an honors class, you're like in a more advanced class or whatever, or you're a diploma candidate, you're doing all this work. And it's this like kind of status thing that some people perceive. Or there's like grade bumps for your GPA, they bump up your grade. And both of those things, if you choose to do IB for those reasons, you will not be fulfilled by the IB diploma or by the IB experience. If you choose to do IB because you're like, oh, this is gonna look so good on my college applications, or this is going to, you know, I'm gonna look so cool to all my friends, or oh, I want all the grade bumps, I wanna have a 5.0 GPA. None of those reasons are going to push you to be actually happy and successful in the programs. And I have witnessed my friends go through it they've chosen to do the program because they're like, oh, I want to look good. And then they end up hating it, and then they end up dropping the program. And so that would be my second piece of advice. You have to genuinely love it. You have to have a genuine sense of curiosity if you want to pursue the program in order to be successful.
Okay, so a little bit of background. My freshman year, I was in physics, and I had this one kid who was in the IB diploma, and every single day he would say, don't do it. Don't do it because it's going to kill you. Don't do it because it's killing me. And oh my goodness, my piece of advice to you is don't listen to them. Because as Jordan said, there's CAS, and that does relieve a lot of pressure because you can put your own input into it, and you can also put your input into many other things that are part of the IB, and not just the diploma, but also many of the classes. You have your own voice in those things. So you worry about you, because that was his experience, and that's not mine today.
Okay, you have another one? Okay. I'm going to switch to questions from the the audience after you're done?
Two big pieces of advice is last year, correct me if I'm wrong, for the diploma candidates, only 6 out of 13 got them.
Correct.
And 6 of them did not get the diploma because they didn't complete their CAS and extended essay. So I really recommend you doing your CAS and extended essay. And also, the diploma juniors are actually starting, or almost starting, the extended essay. And thank God we have like this book, we call it the Bible, and it like tells you everything about the extended essay, and they give you deadlines. And that's another piece of advice: always meet deadlines because it will literally help you out. You're not going to be stressing. There might be some seniors that I know that are like stressing and they didn't do anything, and yeah, I might be wrong. You know. Also, what was the other thing? I forgot.
That's okay, we'll come back to it. Okay, so I'm gonna do Oprah right now. If you're like 15 and under, you probably don't know what that is, but everybody gets a car. Okay, if you have a question, raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you.
I kind of have 2 questions. How many of you have jobs outside of high school? 2.
I did.
Like babysitting or actual?
I worked after school at like an after school program for kids who are in elementary school.
Okay. My second question is, why would you do AP and IB?
You cannot.
You don't. So I heard some of you say you took AP Euro history.
Yes, so before, you can't actually take any IB classes freshman or sophomore year. The program starts junior, senior year. So back when, I'm a senior right now, back when I was a sophomore, they offered AP European history, and I think for the juniors they offered AP European history when they were sophomores as well.
And currently they offer the underclasses.
Yes, so we were taking AP European history as sophomores. Now they offer AP Government and Econ, I believe, for sophomores.
Instead of
AP.
Instead of HODA as well.
Did you take the national AP test and pass it?
Yes.
Good for you. I'm so impressed.
Thank you. Also, for your previous question, I work as well. I work at the Winchester Mystery House as a tour guide, which is so fun. And I just work weekends, and I've been able to manage it just fine. Yeah.
There's only one thing. You can take IB and AP classes, only one exception. So we used to have IB Mathematics HO, which is a 2-year course. And now we have Mathematics SL and Mathematics Studies. For those classes, they used to be 2 years, but now they're 1-year classes. It's an SL class. Standard level classes are 1 year. And so you take the standard level mathematics your junior year, and next year you would take AP stats.
AP calculus.
Calculus. AP calculus.
But you're taking the IB Math SL test your senior year. So IB Math SL is still pretty much 2 years, but the second year is AP calculus.
Yeah, so at the end of your second year, if you're taking IB Math SL, you have the choice to take the IB Math SL test along with the AP Calculus test and gain all those credits that will really help you get forward to college, because if you do these certain things, you'll be able to basically save a bunch of money as you are skipping your first year of college, as your requirements are being already made through those classes.
So the only AP classes that we still have are the sophomore history class, which is now AP Gov, and then a lot of universities still recognize AP Calculus over the IB Math SL exam, so that's why we want the students to take both, so that the colleges will take whichever one their policy accepts, right? They'll be prepared for both of those. Okay, what other questions do people have?
Guys, thank you so much. Great talk. The question is, if one of you were to transfer to a different school with IB program right now, how difficult would that be? And if the second part of the question is, if you were to transfer to another school that didn't have IB but had AP classes, how difficult would that be? Just would like to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
I think that would be actually a lot more difficult in a certain way. AP is a different structure of learning, the way that it's made. AP classes are made to memorize. You take notes every day. and you have giant textbooks, and you cover whole sections and countries in weeks, whereas we take months and months on that. But as IB is an international program, all IB schools should be linked in that sort of way. So you will be learning around the same things. And some of your classes may not work, as we have History of the Americas. Sometimes there's different history classes that are offered at different schools. But globally, IB should be the same, as they all have international standards. So us as IB, if we go internationally, say we study abroad in high school, we should be, if we go to an IB school, learning the same things, because they are international standards in that way. So the transfer between IB schools would be around the same thing. But AP is very much knowing things instead of gaining skills in that sort of way. So that's the difference.
All right, who else has a question?
So, is IB accepted at all the universities, like the University of California?
So with my experiences with, as a senior applying to colleges and looking at different things, different colleges take different credits. So if I apply to a UC, my test scores for a certain class might need to be higher than if I'm applying to a private somewhere else. It really just depends on the college. Each college has a different take of IB course credits. Some colleges, you can skip your entire freshman year if you have enough IB credits, but other colleges, they just take less.
To go off of that just really quick, some colleges don't take SL classes. So we have standard level and we have higher level. So some of the classes will not accept your SL classes. For UCs, they don't accept the SL math. That's why we take the AP calculus test at the end, but a lot of them do, are private colleges. So I'm applying up in Washington and Oregon. My private colleges, they're accepting 4s up to 7s. So IB is graded on a 7-point scale and that sort of thing. So they'll accept 4s up to 7s, but a lot of other colleges, they will only take HLs 5 to 7 for certain UCs.
Yeah, but just to, well, whatever, just to make sure, IB is international, thus it is recognized at every single college in everywhere, the whole world. So if you're worried, if people are like, what is IB? They'll know, all schools know what IB is.
I'm going to just add a little bit about that. So you can Google, if you just take any university and Google like UC Davis IB policy, it'll tell you what they have. The students are right, every college recognizes IB. IB is not as prominent and well known in California, but if you go to the East Coast and internationally, it's the top recognized educational program that high school students can get. The UCs, if these diploma students earn a 30 out of 42 points in total, then they earn 30 credits of college credits when they start. What those apply for will depend on the university, right? So they might get general elective credit, and some of it might be, like you can skip out of your freshman level English course. Again, it depends on each university. I think you had a question, and then I'll come over here.
Thanks for sharing your experiences. All of you have mentioned that it's a lot of work. So I'm wondering about things like sports and music, and if that is completely impossible or just more challenging, how you balance those extracurriculars.
Okay, so I'm in the IB Diploma, so I'm doing the whole thing, and so far, most things are manageable because since I'm in the diploma, don't count them as extra things. Instead, I try to incorporate them into my CAS. So sports, that would go under activity, and I would set goals for each new week that I would have So for example, I'm in badminton, I would do a goal of practicing my footwork. And so as service as well, you can go help out CAS. Creativity, a lot of creativity there. So yeah, it really does fall, it could fall into CAS, and so that makes it possible for you to go ahead and live your life.
Maybe some of you guys can share some of the things you do outside of school.
So to provide some background on that, I am a senior, I am an IB Diploma candidate. There was a question earlier about jobs, and the reason why I don't have a job is because of this. So I'm in 7 IB courses right now, which is as many as you can take. I'm in 7 IB courses right now. Last year, in my junior year, I was in the fall play, which was from September to November. I was in the winter musical, which was from November to late February, and then I was on the swim team, which is on February to May. So I was basically an after-school activity all year round. I also am my mom is Greek. I'm Greek, and I go to Greek school, and I went to Greek school for a while, so I'm entirely literate, and I teach at my Greek school on Saturdays. So it's like the job that I don't get paid for. I volunteer at my Greek school on Saturdays, and then I'm also the president of 2 clubs and the website designer for another club, and another thing for another club. So incorporating outside activities and doing outside service, sports, music, I'm in choir, that too. All of these things are totally manageable with IB. It's just a matter of time management and ensuring that you really want to do the things you're doing. Like if I really hate the class, I'm not going to do more. So it's kind of, considering that as well. Or like, if I don't like going to this one activity, then maybe I should stop.
Keep in mind that Jordan does all of the things. Your IB student doesn't necessarily have to do all of this.
And also to add, when I first began, I was very heavily involved in my church, and I did not think that any of those things that I did could apply to CAS, and that I could do. But just ask, please ask, because they did, and now I am using them.
Just to add on to that, Ms. Hellman, I know, provides a lot of great resources. I always check School Loop, and there's so many great resources that the IB folks have gathered in terms of putting on your CAS Manage Pack. So one of my experiences is I'm one of the folks in Congresswoman Anna Ishu's 18th Congressional District Student Advisory Board, and we just research public policy issues, and we're creating a policy paper at the end, which will be entered into the Congressional Library. But the thing is, like, I never thought that me, a political junkie, could, a low-key political junkie, could ever, like, incorporate my love of politics and civic engagement into school. Because in just regular school, you can't ever do that. But with CAS, I've created JSA, a JSA chapter at our school, and we're going to...
What's JSA?
JSA is Junior Statesmen of America, and it's a political and social activism club. We're planning on going to Windsor State, where we'll write up legislation and debate on it. It's basically like a mock Congress. But like I said, IB and CAS specifically just provides you with that platform to do the thing that you're gonna be. It just looks good, for one, but it also it's just amazing, especially when you have folks like Ms. Hellman and Ms. Alaman helping you with getting those experiences onto your managed pack.
I'll just say one last thing there. I'm definitely not as impressive as yeah. But so I've done varsity sports all 4 years, well, like 3.5 for volleyball. But I'm also track team captain all 4 years. But I've also learned, like, I set up the field really quick. Okay, what can I do my notes? I'm doing my AP Euro notes. Like, I'm doing my notes. So I do throwing for track, but like I have a 15-minute period. I'm going to use that time the best that I can. So I'm going to do that 3 pages for IB psychology that I need to take notes on. Or I'm going to, like, the freshman volleyball game starts at 3:30. I don't play till 6:30, so I have that time period where I could go hang out with my friends, but instead, like, I'll do study groups with my friends, or I'll sit and do homework. And even if I'm not like playing or doing something as productive, or like watching a movie that I see a bunch of my other friends doing, I'm spending that time as wisely as I can, because I also live in Santa Cruz too. So I commute over the hill every day to come here. And so I have to get up around 5:15 every morning. So I want to go to bed at a normal time because I don't want to use that late night time, because I know I'm not going to be productive at like 10:30. It's just not going to happen. My work is not going to be the best that it needs to be. So I'm going to use the time that I have and use it the best that I can in that way.
My question is kind of just a follow-up to what came up earlier. I just want to be clear. There are no schools that don't accept IB.
Correct.
No colleges. Okay.
They may not accept, like we were saying, they accept different levels of credit, and they accept different, like, some schools, like they were saying, will let you in as a sophomore. Some schools will say, okay, cool, you took the test, we're going to make you take these classes anyway because we want everybody to be on the same page. It depends on the school and their policy, but regardless, every university, college, whatever, across the entire world knows what IB is because it's an internationally recognized program.
All right, what other questions?
Thank you. I actually don't have a question. I have a twofold comment. So I'm the parent of a senior diploma candidate up on the stage there. And my comment is twofold, and that is to actually the parents here. I mean, first of all, to the students who are just amazing. I'm always tooting their horns and will continue to. But to the parents, my biggest piece of advice for you as you listen to these kids and as you learn about IB, whether you're here already or you're coming into Del Mar, is to really pay attention to the cues your kids are giving you when it comes to IB. It's very demanding, it's very exhausting, but it's also very exciting. And when you hear your kids say to you, wow, finally I'm learning something useful, it really makes you think, yes, I'm so glad they're in this program. And when they're saying to you, I just really need to go out for a drive for 5 minutes to get French fries because my mind is going to blow up having done an IA, IB bio notes, HODA notes, TOK blog post, etc., etc., etc. Read that cue and just let them do what they need to get by. And whether they work, whether they volunteer, whether they play sports, whether they help their little brother, whether they help their teacher, or whether they go give their friend a hug after school, they're doing things that are beyond academics in IB, and that's what they're learning. And please, please, I ask you, as a parent of an IB student, pay attention to that. Sometimes it means more than tangible paid jobs or tangible grades. It means more when you see your student thriving. It really does, and that's what all of these students are doing every day, and more students who are not here today. So it's just advice, it's not a question. Please, I'm very proud of these kids, and I hope that you can see how IB is not about grades, it's not even about college. There's a lot of things you will learn about IB along the way that you may not know, but everything they're learning, they're going to use in college, and they're actually going to learn and use in real life, and I think that's more important. Thank you.
All right, what other questions do you guys have? We have maybe like 10 more minutes before we wrap up. We'll go here and then over there.
Do IB classes give you a grade bump, or is it like only certain classes?
So for IB, there's standard level classes and higher level classes. A little confusing. They're all standard level classes. I believe you get grade bumps, right?
Most.
What? At least in the... Oh. So, okay, second year, wait, no.
Yeah, second year, SL, floated.
No, for SL, for 1 year courses, you get.
The answer is sometimes.
The answer is, as Kate said in choir about music, it depends.
But for your HL courses, you don't get a grade bump until second year. I'm right about that.
It depends. Language, you get a grade bump both.
And like language and literature, you get a grade bump for both.
The grade bumps are hard to digest and kind of confusing, but I mean, if you're doing a class for the grade bump, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah. What is a grade bump?
So when you calculate GPA, you calculate on a 4-point scale. So when GPA is calculated, unweighted, every A equates to a 4. If a class is weighted, it has a bump, in which if you have an A, it becomes a 5. If you have a B, which would traditionally be a 3, it gets bumped to a 4. So when they're calculating your cumulative GPA, which is an average of all of the scores within your course load or whatever, it will average to be something. If you have all A's and it's non-weighted, you'll have a 4.0. If it's weighted, you will have above a 4.0, and that's how you hear students saying, I have a 4.6 GPA. Some students that I know currently are in all IB courses and are just killing it, and they have a 5.0 right now. But like, that's not a reason to do IB, so don't listen to me.
Also, just a little thing on that. You can't have an F and, oh, I got a C, I'm fine. Like, you need to be able to have a certain standard of, like, you gain this, like, even if you're not totally advanced, you don't understand everything, at least you have a fundamental knowledge of what you got from that class. So if you have a C or higher, you can get there.
I was just wondering if you could quantify a little bit the time commitment and where it comes from. Is it because you're taking more classes than other people, or you're doing all these commitments out of classes, or right, like how much of it is the service time, how much of it is the classes are harder, how much of it is, you know, there's other extra things you got to be doing.
Maybe you guys can just share a little bit, like what's your average homework time each night, and what time do you go to bed, and what time do you wake up?
Okay, I'll start. Since I have to get up at 5:15 every morning to leave the house, I go to bed at 9 every night, which is really quite early. Some of my friends go to bed at 2 or 3 in the morning. I have no idea how they function. But besides that, I have HODA basically is one of the larger classes that we get homework in. We have a lot of, we introduce the subject during the day, we do some stuff. All right, to prepare for the next class, you're going to break up the work as a group, you're going to come together, and then the next class, you're going to collaboratively work on your homework. So like go over what you did for homework the next day. So we do that a lot in HODA. English, we don't get that much homework just because of how I really enjoy our English teacher, Ms. Phyllis. She does very good with scaffolding in certain ways and time management in that way. But I think HODA is definitely one of the top, along with IB Psychology, as you're taking notes almost every night for homework. But those are the top 2 classes that I get. So I get around, along with, AP Calculus, oh geez. With that, I have about 3.5 hours. Maybe, because I have all my hard classes in one day, so I have my math class, my psych class, and my history class together. So I have all my heavy homework classes in one day, so I have about 3.5 hours, but the other day I don't have any homework in that way. So I try to start the homework the day that it's due, and then the homework I don't finish the first day, I will roll over to the next day.
Yeah, to go off of what Sage was saying, I'd say probably 2 to 4 hours, because one of the things I really like about the scheduling is since we have block schedule, so you have 3 classes each day, and it switches off every other day. You can do your homework the day you get it, if you're staying on top of things. So it will take you a lot less time, whereas if you're putting it off until the day before or the night before it's due, it could take you like much longer unless you're really on top of it.
And one of the he said it's better to do the homework the day it is assigned because it feels so great the next day when you say, I'm going to agree with it.
And so
For me, I do my homework the first day, I try to at least, and then I finish it off the next day if I haven't finished it. So on average, if I keep going like that, I usually have no more than 4 hours of homework.
As a senior who is writing college apps and who also is very involved in school life with sports and like the musical and everything, my daily schedule is usually I wake up at around 5:45 each morning because I'm an early bird, not because I'm crazy. I usually, I wake up, I eat breakfast and everything, I go to school, I'm at school, I get to school for first period, so I'm getting to school at about 7 every day for class to start at 7:25, right? Yeah?
7:20.
See, I get here so early that I don't even know when school starts because I'm already in my class.
You are a nerd.
And then at school until 2:30. During lunch hour, I'm usually in a club or in a class getting help. I'm usually at school for about 2 hours after school, either because of sports, or if I'm in the musical, or if I'm just hanging out because I like the school. And then I go home, eat dinner, and then I'm doing homework for about 2 hours, and I usually get to bed by 9 o'clock. And I feel like that's pretty consistent throughout the week. Give or take over the weekends, there is about 2 to 3 hours of homework that you have to do as well if you want to get like ahead of the game for the week. But it is a really manageable amount. It's not super overwhelming. Your teachers are also really understandable if you just can't get things done.
And quick piece of advice.
Don't Netflix and homework, because those 3 hours are going to turn into 6 hours.
Just like a quick little thing, so we have theory of knowledge that is also during your first period. So we do have a class that's very short. We have it Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It's from 7:20 to 8:25 every morning, but that is not a required class at all. Unless you're a diploma candidate, but it's split. It's second semester of your junior year, first semester of your senior year, unless you're an IB Diploma, which Miss Alama teaches, which spans both years. But we have, me, Jordan, and Eliza are all in the same TOK class, so we have that in the morning, and then we have 3 other classes following that first period.
So one thing I just want to add before we start to wrap up is when your students don't need to make the decision about whether they're going to be a course candidate or a diploma candidate until halfway through their sophomore year. I like to spend a lot of time with students and their families if they want, talking about that decision, because it is a big decision and there are a lot of factors that go into it. So just listening to their wide range of how much time they spend on homework, it's such a personal decision because some students work at a slower pace than others. Some students are able to just bust out a homework assignment in 30 minutes that another kid is going to take an hour, right? So there isn't really one right answer of whether or not the diploma is right for a student. You have to look at, again, what are their extracurriculars? How much sleep does your kid need? How does your student handle stress? Can your student manage their time? Right? All of those things should be considered when they're making this decision. I probably counsel more students out of doing the full diploma than in, because we care about your students' well-being. It's not about like, oh, we want to have this many diploma kids and have our statistics look great, right? It's like we don't want them to be neurotic messes walking around unhappy, right? Like I want your students to be happy when they're here and enjoy what they're doing. So I hope that shows, and that these guys have made a decision that is best for them, and not because of like I have to go to Stanford or I'm a loser. Like that's not the mentality that we have here. And I think what Jordan said about doing the diploma because you want to, like she has definitely drank my Kool-Aid. Because I say that all the time. Don't do this because you think it's going to get you into Berkeley or Stanford or Harvard. It's too hard and it's too stressful. You have to do it because you like learning in all subjects. And if that's you, then the diploma is a great choice for you. Like for me, IB Math, deal breaker. No way would I have done the diploma, because I just don't really enjoy math that much, right? So it's totally personal. Okay, everybody needs to just, go home and take a break for a minute. So we're gonna wrap up. Here are some next steps. For students who are currently Del Mar students right now, we've already pretty much finished programming freshmen, which means picking their classes for their sophomore year. I have met with quite a few of the students who are freshmen that are thinking about doing the full diploma, and we've pretty much mapped out what they think they want to take all the way through their senior year, knowing that that can change. Parents, if you would like to hear about those conversations and be more involved in that, then you can email me and we can meet. Students who are prospective students here, I can also meet with you and we can do a tentative four-year plan, or we can just talk, more about what sounds good for your student. We have IB night on Thursday, January 17th. This is kind of like a shopping night. So let's say that you're a student who's thinking about taking some IB classes, but you just don't feel like you know enough about them to decide which ones you want to take. We have a few different sessions. The teachers who teach those courses will be here, and they get an in-depth session, like 20 minutes, to talk about what their course is like. So for example, we have two different science classes that are very unique. IB Design Technology and IB Environmental Systems. A lot of students don't really know what those are. So they can come to IB night and listen to a 20-minute presentation from the teacher, and there's also usually a student there who's currently in that class, and the teacher will go over what's covered, what are the units, what's the homework like, what are the major assessments. And that'll help give students and families a sense of which classes they might be interested in. That's really geared for students who are sophomores or juniors and are gonna take a class next year. It's not an evening that's really meant for like 8th graders or 9th graders. Like I said, you can meet with me to create a plan. We do have an 8th grade family night on January 24th at 6:30. That is a night that is geared towards incoming freshmen and their parents. If you are still trying to decide where you want your student to go to school, I highly recommend that, or high school, that you come to that evening. And then our IB parent organization is always looking for more people to support our cause. The IB parent organization has really whittled down their focus into two areas. One is parent education workshops, which are events like this. And then the second is fundraising for, at this point, mostly IB enrichment. We have money to pay for exams, thank goodness. So what we're trying to do is raise some money to offer, like I said, enrichment opportunities for students that are in the IB program. Not just diploma candidates, but any students. So for example, we host an academic competition here every spring called the World Scholars Cup. How many of you guys have done it? It's rad. Jordan did it. The first time we competed, they got to go to Greece and compete over the summer, and then I got to take them to Yale in November. It was rad. It was so fun, but it's really expensive. So I would love to get one of these corporations around here to sponsor a World Scholars Cup team, right? And send them to compete in these competitions. So if you work at any of those corporations, please come to the IB Parent Night, because we want your money. We meet the first Monday of each month. The next meeting is Monday, January 7th at 5:45 in the staff lounge. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Can we please give our students a huge round of applause? You guys can bow. Go ahead. Stand up. Give a bow. Give a bow. You guys are rad. Yes. Yes. They'll be signing autographs in the lobby on your way out.
We'll be around if you have more.
Yeah, if you want to come ask them individual questions. Actually, why don't you guys go out in the lobby and people can talk to you. Leave the mics, please. Thank you again for coming. We would really like your feedback on that survey. If you can't fill it out tonight, you can bring it to school. You can scan it and email it to me. Nicole, do you have anything else you want to say? Okay, thank you again.